Still, look, it is interesting, isn't it? Look, I've I'll call myself out right now. I've gone on record still and said there's people saying we're going to win the league. There's people saying why can't we? There's people saying we've got 80%, 50%. I saw you yesterday. You said it was a 10% chance. I've gone on record as saying I think we've got 0% chance of winning it. Honestly, still, you would think that I'm literally saying that I've slept with everyone's mum, right? And that I want Tottenham to get relegated for my opinion of we're going to get Champions League. Why is my opinion? I'll start with me. I'm going to pick on everyone at some point. I'll start with mine. Why is my opinion of Spurs getting full fourth, fifth and getting Champions League? Why is that so hated? Is it because I'm giving Spurs 0% chance? Or is it just that everyone is so desperate for success that they don't want it to be right?
I think it's two things, right? The first one is, I've said this 100 times, and this just rattles everyone. But the more it happens, the more I'm proven right. You've got two types of content creator. You've got what I call the media cartel, and then you've got the rest. We are the rest. We say as we see it, what we think, how we feel, and we just put it out there. And people love it or they hate it or they're somewhere in the middle. The media cartel can and can't say certain things, right? This isn't a dig, so people don't get emotional in the chat. Individuals, content creators like a Ricky Sachs, a Chris Cowlin, a Flav from the Fighting Cock, they are the only ones who get invited onto Sky Sports, BT Sports, Talk Sport. They represent the Spurs fan base. The problem is they don't represent me and thousands more because their views and takes are nothing like what I believe or think. But yet their voice is the one that's put out there. They have to toe the line. They have to play the game or they're cut off. Sky Sports, BT Sports, Talk Sports won't touch them. We don't want you. You need to push out the narrative we want to put out there, right? And if they were to actually have a proper discussion on this subject, they would lose their links to these channels and these companies. I'll give an example. The amount of time I hear them say, oh, but you're an echo chamber, Stelios. We prefer balanced debate. Bullshit. Sorry to swear on your channel. Like, that's BS. If you want balanced debate, then have Levy out people in your Levy out conversation. If you're going to talk about Enoch and Levy, have the Levy out people on the show. Otherwise, all you're doing is it's your view and the ones you've picked to come on and have your view. And collectively, you are the media cartel. You're doing it for clicks, likes, and income. I don't do this for income. I don't do it for clicks and likes. I do it because I enjoy talking football. I work in football. And I just need to say my bit. I just want to say my bit. That's it. If I make money from it and if we become a big channel, fantastic. If not, that's not why I do it. But the media cartel don't operate like that. So that's what I see. And that's why Flav made his comments, because he had Brian Daigle and I on a podcast last year, and the backlash that he got was insane. The abuse. He even private messaged me, and I put it on my show yesterday that I did about this. He said, shall I take the podcast down? When have you ever heard of a big channel saying, should we remove the content we've just created because of the backlash he got? So he knows if he comes out and says, actually, I agree with you guys here, he's on the backlash again. So they do what they need to do to play the game. We don't play the games. We don't play the game. We say it as it is. So automatically you're going to be on the back foot. The other thing is, the second part is, and this is about why you are seen as shagging everyone's mum.
Just some. I only get a couple of hall passes a week. Yeah, I'm
seems not like is the key word. You don't want it to get clipped and misconstrued, right? Seems like it's not actually.
Why there's rumors that Sava's sleeping with people's mums, right? There's I think what it is, Sava, with you, and I'm talking about you now, not everyone else.
Go on.
You saying we're not winning the league, stop it. It's only 10 games. Levy won't back him. We know what he's like. You saying all these things, I agree with, Sava. I agree with all of it. I think where you then build up a lot more negative comments, if we're going to call it negative, I think the word negative and positive are the same thing anyway nowadays. But when you say things like City are going to thrash us, I think that then gets people's backs up against the wall even more. That bit, I disagree with you, right?
Yeah,
I
yeah,
100%
that's
disagree with
fine.
you on that bit. I don't think City are going to thrash us. I don't.
Can I ask a question though? Can I ask
But
a
the other
question?
stuff, I agree with you.
Is it
Yeah.
is it inconceivable? I don't want to go on a massive tangent, but it's not inconceivable that this Man City team smash us, is it?
No, anything's possible. Yeah, of course it is.
Yeah, it's like for me too, and I think it's the fact that sometimes you speak in absolutes.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Because zero chance means zero chance, right? It's
Yeah, yeah.
not possible in any world or under any situation. That's what zero chance means. So it's the absolute factor. Because I disagree with that. I think there is a chance if everything goes the right way, the way that it's been going for the first 10 games of the season. I think we would win the league if that continues on. Now, whether that continues on or not is a completely different argument, right? But
Yeah.
it's the fact that there's zero chance. It makes it sound like regardless of the situation, regardless of who we sign in January, regardless of what happens to these players and how well they perform, we can't win the league, right? That bothers me because in my logical brain, that's not right. That's not
No,
it.
there's
If I changed my opinion to 5%, if I said to everyone there's 5%, and by the way, I just want to say, right, first of all, this guy, first of all, I see you. Take that for whatever you think it means. I see you. I see you in other people's chat rooms constantly slagging me off. I see you. Do you know the people I become dismissive of? It's not when people say, "Oh, I think we could." It's the people that are telling me we will. And I think there is a difference here as well. It's got to work both ways, right, guys? Okay, I take it on board. Okay, maybe I should say, listen, there is a chance. I just don't think we will. But when people are sitting in front of me, and Perchy, you've been on Stream B a lot lately, where people are, we will win the league. You've just got to believe that it will happen. That's where I'm dismissive, right? Does that make sense? Like I just can't have we will.
Well, no, I think this is the bit, right? I think it's absolutes on both ends. I love bringing my spectrum hand on here. Always comes out. It's we're not, which there's always an opportunity. Like anything can happen in football, right? So there's to write Spurs off it completely. I understand it's completely it. But on the flip side, when people go, "Oh, you just got to believe it," I think this is the bit that misconstrues it. I think me and you very much, Sav, talking the same things on facts and logic, right, over feelings. I think that was this is really where the debates come from. It's do you feel like winning the league? I feel like we're going to win the league over, okay, well, what is the rationale and logic that we are? Well, the rationale and logic of Tottenham winning the league is if Man City completely fall apart and they get 3 or 4 key injuries for the whole season and Tottenham stay injury-free, Daniel Levy backs this manager and goes and gets 3 or 4 extra players. Arsenal have a load of injuries. Liverpool do. This is the kind of thing, is it? So that could happen. I think anything could happen, right? So those scenarios could happen. But the way that people miss it completely is if you put everyone gets relatively the same amount of injuries across the season. It swings around back, but you get my point in the sense of that team gets 3 injuries, that team gets 3, and in that slight concept, Man City get 3 injuries compared to Tottenham getting 3 injuries right now. It's chalk and cheese. Man City could lose Haaland and De Bruyne all season, but you would still go, do you know what? They've still got firepower in Alvarez and Foden.
You saw what happened when Rodri got injured. Three.
Yes, no, I think that's relative.
I hear this a lot, right? The Rodri thing I hear a lot. If you actually watch the games they didn't win when Rodri didn't play, they didn't play. They were brilliant. They played brilliantly. Had like 25 to 30 shots in each game, but couldn't finish their dinner. Are we saying that they didn't finish their dinner because Rodri wasn't playing in playmaker, deep line playmaker?
Well, I think the Arsenal game, for example, they missed Rodri really big in that one. They didn't have a lot of shots on target. They didn't create a lot, and they had a hard time controlling that midfield, which is a midfield we didn't have a hard time controlling when we played them, right? So I think that one, the Sheffield United and Wolves one, to be honest with you, I don't watch. There are several teams. I haven't watched a lot of Newcastle this season because the times tend to, for whatever reason, they're putting like 5 games at that 10 a.m. time slot for me, which is, I guess that'd be 5 p.m. for you guys, right? And Newcastle's always conflicting with some other game of some team that we're competing with in the top half of the table, so I haven't watched it. And I don't really watch Manchester City in general because the outcome is usually known before the match starts. So
yeah.
And I don't like watching games like that. But I did watch the Arsenal Man City game, and I thought that their midfield was having a hard time controlling the ball, having a hard time controlling the pace. The possession rates were really kind of even, almost 50-50. And I think with Rodri and their team, they win that game. So
no, listen, I agree with you. Let me ask you this then, Perch. I'll start with you, and then I'll go back to Will on this. Again, okay, let me try this new thing of trying to meet in the middle. I think everyone gets injuries and everyone will drop off with their injuries. But I think the difference is that a club like Man City, for example, Man City haven't had Kevin De Bruyne. What was he played? 20 minutes, 17 minutes this season?
25 minutes all season.
How many?
25 minutes all season.
25 minutes all season. Yeah. Now, Kevin De Bruyne, would it be fair, guys, if I was to say Kevin De Bruyne is our James Maddison?
Yeah.
If James Maddison had played 25 minutes all season this year, I fail to believe we'd be in the top half of the table. That's just me. That's just me. Is that harsh? Is that wrong? Am I going overboard on that?
No, I
don't think you're going over the board with it. I just think it's a little bit different because Pep has adjusted their system to where now Alvarez is one of the main creators. They're creating from a different place than they normally do when KDB's in the team, right? So they have had to adjust the way that they play in order to not lose that creativity. But
I agree. But would you not say this? I think you're right. By the way, I think what they've done is they've changed up. But what Man City have that Tottenham don't have right this second is a squad, right? And I think when we talk about Maddison, I think we could talk about it for 5 players in that 11: Romero, Van der Ven, Vicario, Bissouma, Son, Maddison. Sorry, 6. I think if we lose 1 or 2 of those on a long period, Maddison, by the way, is the number 1. I think Maddison creates everything for us at the moment. But I think you lose 1 or 2 of those long term, and you start going, okay, this team goes from up here to down here very quickly. Whereas I look at other squads in the same area as us in the league, let's call it the top 4 that it is right now. I think if they lose a couple of players, you go, okay, the drop off isn't like that. And I think that for me is the key bit. We just haven't got the squad right now.
Yeah, so I just think that there's less depth in a lot of these Premier League teams than a lot of people want to be honest about, right? I think Arsenal is just one injury cross to any person in their team, and they're pretty much in the same situation we are, right? Jesus and Nketiah, even though he scored a hat trick against Sheffield United, who also had 17 injuries, right? Half the team that played against us didn't play against them, right? So, and then you've got in their back line, they have no depth whatsoever, right? They are one Saliba injury from Tomiyasu filling in a center back, right? Because Tomori is out till February, March. In the midfield, you can see that the midfield right now isn't working at all. Like if Declan Rice goes down, they're done in that midfield. He's the only one right now who's producing week in and week out for that midfield, right? Odegaard's been a ghost all season. Vieira is not a player, right? Kai Havertz has been horrible. So, I mean, Emil Smith-Rowe has had, even when he came on against Sheffield United, I've been kind of saying maybe he would do a better job in that 8 role. He didn't do very well in that game, even though he played 90 minutes. So, I mean, they are very, very thin. They have no replacement for Saka on the right. No real replacement for Martinelli on the right, except for maybe Trossard. But you saw what happened when both of those guys were injured at the first half of the season. So there's – and the big 6 haven't really played each other yet. Like there's been a couple one-off games. We've played Arsenal and Liverpool. City have played Arsenal, and I think that's it. I don't think they've played anybody else in the top 6.
No, I agree with you. I think Arsenal's probably the one that I would say have the weaker of the squads out of the 4. I mean, Spurs are the other three. Sorry, I think. But I think that you look at use Tomiyasu as a good example. I mean, going in, but that he goes in at centre half. We have Eric Dyer filling in at centre half, or a young kid in Ashley Phillips, who I think, by the way, will become very good, but he's still a kid, right? So I think that for me is the difference, right? At centre half, you lose. They put Tomiyasu in, who I don't think is the greatest player in the world, but he's miles better than the likes of an Eric Dyer right now.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't think Eric Dyer's going to play. I think Eric Dyer will be gone.
I know.
So
he's the one on the bench at the moment.
I'm not basing my depth thing. Like, I think if Van der Ven were to go down, you'd probably see Ben Davies playing on the left-hand side or Ashley Phillips or something like that. And Phillips is really, we have such a young squad now that there isn't that much difference in age between our starters and people in our U21s, right? So, I mean, Van der Ven's, 22, right? Ashley Phillips is 19. So, I mean, there's not a huge gap there. And if he's as good of a player, if you're good enough, you're old enough, in my opinion.
Of course, I agree.
The question isn't necessarily how old he is; it's how good is he, right? If he's the player that people are saying he is, then it shouldn't be a problem. The fact he's only 18, because size-wise, you're pretty much a full-grown man at that point. So,
yeah, and he's a big bugger, isn't he? Actually,
do you know?
Still, I want to.
Yeah.
Oh, go on. I was going to ask a question. Go on, mate. Go on.
I was going to say one thing that a lot of people keep saying, and I hear it in a lot of channels, is I just want to enjoy the ride. I just want to enjoy the moment. No one's saying not to, right?
Yeah, enjoy the ride.
I'm enjoying it as well. But my point is, at the end of a ride, there's a destination. What's your destination? Because for me, I want us to try and win something, right? So that's why I put this kind of comment out saying, you better back Ange in January, because for me, we are not winning anything, and we may risk losing top 4 if we don't act in a different way this January, because we are going to get injuries, like you guys have discussed, and we are going to go through a difficult patch. But if you've got players that can come off the bench and make the difference that they can't do now, we saw against Palace, Richarlison was rubbish. Ben Davies, how he's allowed to even still be at the club and play this kind of Ange ball system, I don't understand. He was woeful, like woeful. So it's clear, we all agree. Every Spurs fan agrees we need more players. It is not a Spurs fan doesn't agree more depth. My argument is this. Yeah, enjoy the ride. Long may it continue, but don't you want something at the end of the ride? Or do you want another ride to crash into the barriers? I mean,
I always find it funny that, like as I said, I'll go back to it, because I've said I don't think we'll win the league. People just assume that this ride, whatever they think it is, that I'm not enjoying it. Listen, I love Spurs that we've not lost yet. Doesn't mean that I suddenly go into complete delusional mode and think we're never going to lose a game. Of course we're going to lose a game. Look, guys, I've always been of the opinion that I don't put people on pedestals too soon, because once you put people on a pedestal, this isn't Spurs, right? This is footballers. This is managers. Once you put someone on a pedestal, there's nowhere for them to go but down, is there? That's the problem. So for me, I acknowledge that this is a new team. This is exciting, what's going on. I also acknowledge that at some point we are going to start playing a batch of better teams as well. And that's not me knocking Spurs, but the last 3 fixtures we've had have been nice, if I can use that term. The next 3, 4, 5 fixtures aren't as nice. Come through that, all of a sudden my mind might start changing a little bit. But I want to get a gauge from you guys as to where are we? And what I mean by that, I don't mean where are we at top of the league, but you look at Liverpool, you look at Man City, you look at Arsenal. I think they're the obvious 3 for me. They're the obvious 3 that we talk about when talking about winning titles and being up there. Arsenal, not as much as the other 2, if I'm brutally honest. But where are we in relation to them? So Perchy and Will kind of just hit on that in terms of squad depth and injuries. How far away are we from them? Are we level with them? Should we be looking at being above them, these 3 teams? I'm just curious to know where you guys think.
My personal opinion is I think that we're below City and Liverpool, and I think that we're above Arsenal. Like, I don't buy the Arsenal. They don't have a world-class manager. They don't have any world-class players, right? So, and I think that a lot of their players outperform themselves. Like, we all know Granit Xhaka and how he's been for them over the past 5 or 6 years. And last year was a complete anomaly, played out of his boots, right? It wasn't a gradual improvement that Mikel Arteta, he went from being crap, throwing his shirt on the ground, stomping on it, and getting red cards every week, to being one of the best number 8s in the league last season. That's not a progression. That's a statistical anomaly. So it bothers me that I know that table position isn't a trophy or anything like that, but it bothers me that people treat us like we're the team that finished 5th, 6th, 5th, 8th, 8th, 5th the last 6 out of the past 7 years, right? That's not us. That's them, right? And yes, they played really great football last year, and they were playing teams off the pitch. They're not doing that now. And it's not down to injuries. It's down to their dumb manager trying to play party at right back or trying to force square pegs into round holes in the midfield, right? Buying players like Kai Havertz when they were been a blob everywhere that they've been since they came to the Premier League. Jorginho, I find it hilarious that Arsenal fans think all of these players, except for Odegaard, Saka, Martinelli, Rice, and then their defensive pairing, are world class, but everybody else in their team is dog crap. Well, if that's the case, you've got 6, 7 world class players, which aren't world class, by the way, and then a bunch of dog trash. So your depth is nothing. And where have you gone and improved in the £200 million that you spend in the summer? Like I find it funny. I find Arsenal below us right now. I think we're playing better football than Arsenal is. So my top 4 right now is City, Liverpool, Tottenham, Arsenal. While I have Liverpool up there, is their front 5 is just phenomenal, right? Probably the most depth in the front line in the entire league.
Hang on. Is this Will Stewart saying Darwin Núñez is phenomenal?
Well, he's the bottom of that barrel.
I'm joking. Yeah, their front 5, the firepower they've got is scary, even if they're not playing well. And what you notice, Will, each week when Liverpool score 3 or score 4 goals in a week, they share it about, don't they? Like you can't put Liverpool teams other than Mo Salah in your dream team.
Guys, I disagree.
Do you?
What?
Yeah.
With Liverpool? Oh,
yeah.
no, I think they're
just quickly still before I get to you. So Will, the list you gave me, that was in order for you. So you think it will be City from Liverpool, from Spurs, from Arsenal, as things currently stand?
Yeah, because Liverpool, for me, their back line can be shaky at sometimes. Van Dijk, I think, has lost a bit of pace. Not a whole lot. He's just getting old.
Yep.
Age happens. He's still a great defender, in my opinion. Robinson's out injured. Their back line is really thin when it comes to injuries, right? They're 1 injury away from Gomez playing right back. The midfield, they need a 6. They're lacking a 6 right now. I don't think McAllister plays that, but I think that the other 2 midfielders have been playing really well in the position that they have. They've refreshed that up, and I think that once those players maybe get a little more chemistry or they go out and improve their midfield position in January, they're going to be a contender. But right now, they can score goals regardless of how many chances they're conceding, because within 10 to 15 minutes, they can go 3-0 up. Right? That's just the way that Mohamed Salah, Jota, Diaz works. Arsenal don't have that. I'm sorry, Saka is not Mo Salah. I don't even think Martinelli's Diaz or Jota. And Eddie Nketiah is worse than Darwin Núñez, right? So, and Gabriel Jesus, I think, is about on par with Darwin Núñez. So their worst attacker is as good as their best striker. So I just don't think Arsenal are in it for me. And then Man City's Man City, right? So that's why I've got them as being favorites.
Yeah, let me come to Stel. Before I do, Stel, I'll tell you what is absolutely farcical, though, is there's only 85 likes, which is less than 33%. Come on, people, smash that like button. And for the people that are in other time zones, that for them, it's already the 1st of November. It's my birthday. It's already my birthday tomorrow, but it's still today, if that makes sense. If anything I've said there just makes sense. So smash a like, if not for what I'm going to milk of 48 hours of my 21st birthday again. So, Stel, you disagree with Will on Liverpool, or just that 4, or what were you disagreeing with?
For me, hands down, the top 2 teams in the country are Man City and then Arsenal. And the reason I say that, well, I'll tell you. The reason is no other team in the country can compete with those 2 teams' squad depth. As much as we want to slag off,
Arsenal has no squad depth, though. That's a myth.
They do. Yes, they do.
Who?
They've lost Timber and Partey, 2 very
Timber
good
was a new
players.
signing this season.
Let me finish my point. Here's my point. They've lost, for me, one of the best defensive mids last season in Partey in the league. He was him and Rodri were the best 2. And they've lost Timber, who started the season off really well, and I thought he was a really good signing. They've lost those 2, and they're 2 points behind us. If we lost Romero and Bissouma, we're in, that's
okay,
not
Steph, I got to stop you there for a second, because this is the problem. You're basing it off last season's tactics. Partey was available the first half of the season. He was playing right back because that's where Arteta wanted him to be. Gabriel is sitting on the bench, not injured, sitting on the bench. So it's not our fault that Arteta is playing Partey in weird positions.
That,
he's been available. He's only missed 4 games.
But you're taking what I said out of context. I don't care what Arteta. Let me finish my point. I don't care if Arteta plays 5 at the back, 4 in the middle, 3 in the middle. Partey left back, Partey left back, and Nketiah in goal. I don't care. The point I'm making is, when you look at squad depth, Arsenal are better than us, and they should be, because they've spent 700 million on this one guy. He's had time to flush out all the rubbish. We've still got the Dyers, the Sessegnons, the Ben Davies, the Brian Gills. We've still got these clowns at our club, right? They've flushed theirs out. All the ones he didn't want are now gone. There's no rubbish left there for them in his eyes, the manager's eyes. We might criticize Nketiah, Kai Havertz, but in the manager's eyes, this is now his squad, right? When I look at Man City, Pep's got his squad as well. So for me, in terms of squad depth, they're the best 2 in the country. And for a league title, it normally comes down to squad depth. Having said that, I believe, especially after watching Spurs v Arsenal, the one team that they both, Man City and Arsenal, will not want to play this year is us. I think we're the one team they're both going to think, do you know what? I don't want to play them. We're the only team. They might not want to. I think Man City will not want to play us, Sava.
Really? I think they'd love playing us at the moment.
We'll come back to that. We'll come back to that.
Now, in terms of who's the third best team, I think both Liverpool and Tottenham are equal, and I'll tell you why. Oof. I agree with Will that their front 5 is better than ours, but I'm sorry, defensively, we are better with Van de Ven, Romero, Vicario, Udogie, Poran, Bissouma. We are better than them defensively. So where they're better attacking, we're better defensively, and I think that counts each other out. They've probably got a better squad depth than us.
What's that based on still? Why are we better at the back than them? And hear me out. When we've conceded the exact same amount of goals, and they arguably had a lot harder games than we have. Why are we better defensively?
I'm going by the fact that Romero, Van de Ven, Bissouma, and Vicario, for their position this season, they're all at the top of their game. And we're going a little bit off stats here, okay? But when I watch them play and when I look at the data, we are better in that aspect. But you're right. Got goals against, but again,
there's context in the goals too. They haven't conceded any penalties. We've conceded 2, right? They have had 1 own goal. We've had 1 own goal. So we really conceded less goals from open play being broke. Our defense is actually being broken down.
But could you argue we've played a lot easier teams than Liverpool have? I worked out Liverpool have played six of the top 10 out of 10, and Spurs have played.
We've played 7 of the
bottom 10, including 5 of the bottom 7, if that makes sense. So I worked it out. So you could argue,
right? But that's including running, Manchester United that was far better form
do you know what? Season than they are now. This season, I've watched him in certain games. Right, against Chelsea, I wasn't wowed where they drew. Against Everton, honestly, they made a dog's dinner out of that.
I thought they were poor against him, but then I could flip it and
against Brighton, Perchy, they defensively they threw it away. They threw that game away.
Yeah, agreed.
I haven't seen Spurs throw away anything defensively. Where normally
I think we've tried to throw it away defensively, haven't we? I mean,
once or twice, yes, we've made some errors at the back and we've got away with it. But
could you argue still? So, Matt. So, could you argue though if the mistakes that I think we have made in the last, I'll use the last 3 games. I don't think we've been amazing in the last 3. If we allowed a team. We let Luton back. If they had a goal score, probably should have scored against us. I thought we would.
But so should we, Perchy. Richarlison should have got a bloody hat-trick.
Yeah, no. I was just going to get to that bit. So I think there's periods where better teams, if we play in the last 3, use the last 3 games as a sort of sample size. I think that if we played better teams than Fulham, who don't have a goal scorer, Palace, who don't have a goal scorer, and Luton, who don't have a goal scorer, right? We use those last 3. If we played against teams of a better caliber, like a Brighton or an Aston Villa, I think they would have many more opportunities against
We're
us.
going to find out.
The problem with that
We're going
logic
to find out.
is
It's coming.
the problem with that logic is,
we'll find out in the next few games.
but hold on, the problem with that logic is for people who've played the games or played competitive sports, your mind, your mentality is a lot different when you're playing the best team in the league than it is when you're playing the worst team in the league, right? You're more focused, you're more attentive, right? That's for anybody, even kids. Like I can watch my U10s and they all look at the table and they know who's on top. And oh my gosh, we're playing NCFC today. And the boys are more focused because they know it's going to be a hard game rather than when they're playing the team that they just beat 10-0 last week, right?
I get your point. I do get your point.
Yeah, so you're not going to – this is the problem with independent statistical events is you can't compare apples to oranges. You can't compare the mentality of the players playing City as the same mentality as when they're playing Fulham and they're 2-0 up, right? They're going to check out easier against Fulham than they are going to check out against Man City.
Just quickly before we go on, just quickly, by the way, Alfie Devine has just scored a goal for Port Vale out on loan. If anyone cares, he's just put Port Vale 1-0 up.
Scored last on the weekend.
And Valise has scored tonight for the under-21. So I just thought
Saba.
I'd just give it. Yeah, hang on, just really, really quickly still.
Yeah.
I've got before we carry on this debate, I've got Will's 4. I mean, I'm assuming it's that 4 for everyone. I mean, I'm just assuming. You can tell me if I'm wrong.
There's one thing that I was going to say to where I think City, Arsenal, and then it's Liverpool and Spurs tied is where I put them. There is one caveat I want to put on that. I honestly believe if we go in January, and of course the others can do the same, right? If we go in January and get 3 good players for this system in key positions, I honestly believe we can surpass what I've just said on the basis we have no European football. And as the season drags on, as injuries become apparent, as fatigue and tiredness kicks in, we're going to be fresh every week. So that's why I'm so big on this January window. And that's why I'm so big on Levy. You better pull your finger out.
But before we go to Perchy, hang on, Perchy, one second. Before we go to, I want to get the order still. I'm not having people tied, right? I'm not having it. Right, so you've gone City. Did you go City first?
City, Arsenal, Spurs, Liverpool.
I'm tired with Liverpool and Spurs, though. You want me to give you an answer?
I'll tell you what. We'll go to Perchy. I'll let you
Spurs
have some time.
Spurs third. I think you'll be City, Arsenal, Spurs, Liverpool.
City, Arsenal, Spurs, Liverpool. Okay.
Yeah.
Perchy.
I'm gonna say. You know what? I'm going to stick to what I said the other day. I'm not going to change.
Go on, Perchy. Aston Villa. Come on, man.
No. Villa are my top 4. Villa are my number 5. But I'm going.
Really? Wow. Okay.
Why
not?
I'm going.
Great home record.
I'm going City, Liverpool, Spurs, just Arsenal. Then Arsenal. I think it's going to be close. We're talking about on where we're going to finish this season. That's what I think my top 4 will be.
Say that again, Perchy. Who's your top?
Say that again.
So I think you're going to go City will win it. I think City will win it easily. Liverpool and then Spurs will just pip Arsenal.
Same as me.
Okay. So everyone's put so just for complete transparency, my top 4 is City, Liverpool, Arsenal, Villa. Just for complete transparency.
You just want to be hated, right?
No, he's doing it. As it stands, it's City, Liverpool, Arsenal, Tottenham. Listen, I think Villa are a very, very, very good team. I think where Villa are going to struggle is by having all the European games every week and not being able to having to try and rotate and stuff. But if we look at that 4, I think it's going to be that 4. I'm interested. I think it's quite interesting because I'm like Will. I agree that for me, Liverpool are the second best team. And for me, I don't even think it's close. I look at their midfield now is getting stronger. I still think they could do with a DM. But I think what you'll start to see is Klopp integrate Endo in there in more and more games. And I think the other 3 you've already seen Gravenbach started to play more and more games. Szoboszlai's a phenomenal footballer. I think he's excellent. And McAllister, we know what he does. Their forward line, like Wilson, for me, that's the difference. That is why when we talk about Spurs versus Arsenal, I would back them every day of the week over us in terms of being able to put games to bed. And they in games they can make a double substitution where they go right. Diaz and Nunez come off. Gakpo and Jota go on. That's still where I think that's where we're going to struggle. That for me is the difference between the two. I accept at the back they're not what they were, but they still conceded the same as us. Arsenal for me, I think it's a difficult one. They seem to be on this crest of a wave. Like they've not played brilliantly, but still haven't lost. That for me is a worry. When they've not played brilliantly, still haven't lost. And we've seen the heights of the football they can play, but we've also seen that they're not very good at getting over the line. But that would be my 4. So all of us have gone with Man City to win the league. All of us have gone with someone else to be second. But yet, when I say Spurs won't win the league, the hate I get is absolutely unbelievable.